There's an update in the case of the Felonious Fisherman. One of them has more legal troubles in the form of game violations. New ones. Big shock, I know, right? So if you guys remember from last time, Chase Comisky, this guy right here, was charged by the Pennsylvania Game Commission with multiple violations of hunting deer illegally. Now, what did he do? Well, he was hunting deer illegally by hunting them at night outside of hunting hours, using out of season, so anytime outside of the deer season. And then one of the ones that some of you, if you're not used to hunting and you don't really do hunting, this might not seem illegal or wrong, but he's using someone else's hunting tags for those deer. So, for example, if Mickey Mouse has a deer tag, he can't give it to Donald Duck to use. No, if Mickey Mouse wants to fill that tag, he has to do it himself. He cannot give it to someone to fill it for him. So that is something that may seem counterintuitive or may seem like not a big deal, but we don't let people do that because it's rife for abuse and allows poaching. Now, according to reports that are out there right now, the game warden seized antler deer mounts from his house that had other people's names attached to the tags on them. Now, how did anybody ever find out about this? Well, this is a common thing involving poached animals. Well, the people involved in it are breaking the law and breaking the rules, so they're not necessarily trustworthy to start with. But when it comes to deer and trophy animals, and nobody goes out there and poaches a doe, I mean, it's about getting the deer with them racks. I mean, you want them big old bruisers. Well, the people you're poaching with probably wanted it. So they're going to be a little upset. You killed the deer they wanted to poach. So they have an incentive to narc on you out of spite. And I will say this much. I had a case with one of my clients, and he got narked on by the other guy who didn't get to kill the big honking deer and then take it home and put it up on his wall. So this is actually a true thing that does happen, and I'm willing to bet is likely what happened here. So ultimately, what does this mean for him? Well, could he face jail time? Yes. And given the fact he just pled out to felony charges regarding cheating at a fishing tournament here in Ohio, which we already covered, and that's the reason why I refer to him as the Felonious Fisherman. Yeah, that's not going to look good to a court when you're coming there and say, look, judge, I'm a nice guy. Seriously, please don't hold this against me. Yeah, there's a good chance he'll do some jail time out of this. Now, they can also suspend his license, which has already been suspended as a result of his crimes here in Ohio. And then there's also the idea that if he's breaking the game rules, hunting without a license isn't really a big deterrent for somebody like that. So I don't really think that's going to do a whole lot for him. But there is a big issue for Chase that's looming on the horizon, and it's fines and restitution. Now, well, who do you have restitution to? Well, you killed the king's deer. Well, how do you pay the state? What's the value of a deer? Well, Pennsylvania, along with Ohio and a couple other states, aren't just saying, oh, a deer is worth $500. What they use are the Boone and Crockett. Yes, Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett. It is a club that is used to do trophy and big game hunting. And what do? Well, you kill the bear with the biggest head. You kill the elk with the biggest rack. Or in the case of white-tailed deer, which are what are here in Ohio and Pennsylvania and much of the United States, how big are the antlers? And now there is a measurement system. And for white-tailed deer, this is an example of what you would do. There's typical, non-typical. I'm sure those of you who are hunting could care less right now, but those of you who are hunting know what I'm talking about. And what do? Well, the state game agency will use those measurements, put them into a formula, and spit out a number. And that formula gives you that number, how much that deer is worth. So what normally used to be a couple $100 deer is now worth sometimes $15,000, $16,000 if it's a record-setting deer. Or, for example, that client I had, his deer was worth $7,000 in restitution that he had to pay to the state of Ohio. So it does become a big problem very quickly, especially if he has multiple deer, and they might be smaller deer with not very big antler racks. But if a couple thousand deer a pop times, 5, 6, 7 deer, that adds up very, very quickly. So that is something that, doesn't look very good for Chase. And as the meme goes, you think it's bad now. Well, it's going to get a lot worse. That's it for today, guys. Please like, share, subscribe. Questions or comments below. What do you think is going to happen to Chase? Do you think he really did this? I mean, he is innocent until proven guilty, but it's not looking good based upon the facts that are out there. And, I mean, he already cheated for fish, so It's not a shocker you try to cheat for deer. And remember, until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. I mean, unless you're chasing, like, jeez, man. I can't.